Okay, is everyone ready to get started? Okay, hello, I'm Zach. I teach a UX research course here once a year. I didn't teach it this past year, mostly because AI has completely blown up everything about the way my function works in tech. And I just didn't think that the course material that I'd prepared was relevant to the modern day, and I didn't have time to rewrite it. So part of today is about thinking about the way that research works within tech companies. So a bit of history. I graduated from Ohio State with a PhD in cognitive psychology, and since then I've worked in applied research, which at the time was, I guess, a less common career path. Quite often people with advanced degrees will go into teaching, which all your professors have done this, right? But I was mostly inspired by my dad, who kind of did the same thing. And so I found my way to tech maybe 15 years ago. I worked at Netflix for a long time, almost 8 years. I just led the DoorDash research team for the last 5 years, and I just quit my job last week, and I'm moving to Gemini. So if you have questions about working at Google, I have no idea what the answer is. Don't ask me those questions, but I can answer all of the other questions. I'll give you a sense of how the function fits into the broader tech ecosystem, because I think we have a mixed bag of people in here that with roles that I would normally interact with in my day-to-day life. I heard design, I heard UXR, I heard engineering. This is how sort of modern day tech companies work, at least for another 6 months until this all gets blown up. And then these roles all become one role, which is kind of how things are going. And that's why you should care about what we're talking about today. Typically, the way things work is that there's a research team, often called UXR, User Experience Research, within tech, who works closely with the design team. The research team finds insights either through qualitative or quantitative research and then passes those on to design. Oftentimes, they're complaints about experiences people have using the products that the design has built. Design might make some changes. Engineering will then build those into actual product and ship it. And you start from an insight, essentially, and you end with impact. And then across all of this, you have product management. That's sort of like the person that's the glue between all of the functions and making sure everything works. So I sit here on the UX research team. Historically, I've reported into the design function, so I'm quite familiar with both. I wanted to show you the first 2 slides that I present in my UX research class. The first is the goal of a research function is to objectively bring the voice of audiences directly into the product innovation process. What you typically see in tech companies is that there's a lot of people that have a lot of ideas. Often those ideas come from their own lives, or they think they're great ideas, but these people are not normal, right? They're not typical. They live here. They're probably pretty rich. They probably don't have any issues or challenges outside of whatever normal stuff might happen to people, but they also live in the US. They typically speak English, and there's a lot of other things that are kind of uncommon about them if you think globally, but they're the ones coming up with the ideas. What the research team does is they go and they listen to the people that are actually using the product everywhere in the world, any type of person, and then they get those ideas objectively, bringing them into the conversation with design engineering and say, hey, this is what's actually going on. Okay, and then the overall objective is you're delivering these insights that are going to lead to impact, right? And you need to care about 2 things. And you're the function, research is the function that cares the most about these 2 things and the intersection between these 2 things. A lot of companies, as you can see, you live here, are driven by profit, they're driven by engagement. That is important for the business, but not always important for the end user. What research does is bring the voice of the end user in so that both the end user is happy as well as the business being happy with the engagement that they're getting from the end user. So if you are working in any function, could be engineering, design, research, whatever, if you can find new ideas that both improve the lives or improve the experiences of users and also improve the outcome of the business, that's where you need to be focusing all of your time and energy. So that's what I do. That's what my team does. Okay, so today we're going to do an example of that. But we're going to do it in the world of AI because things have changed significantly in the last year and a half. So what I've built, I built this entire thing using Cursor. The presentation, the materials that you see, the dashboard that you see, everything else that I show you, all I did was I got a LinkedIn message from Kai. He was like, you've taught here before. Come and talk about AI. Here's what AI Kitchen is. What about this idea? I was like, okay, that sounds good. What about this idea? He's like, okay, cool. And I took a screenshot of the LinkedIn conversation and I pasted it in Cursor and I hit enter, and like 8 hours later, everything was done. And I barely did anything. This is the amazing world that you live in now. Of course, I had to QC everything, obviously, right? I don't want to like deliver slop to you, but I wanted to demonstrate just how easy it is to pretty much accomplish anything in one of these Cursor experiences. Okay, so this is a picture of the dashboard that I've created. I will show it to you in a second. You will be creating your own. Okay, first I wanted to show you a real thing from DoorDash. I think it's this one. Yes. So every quarter we do an NPS deep dive, NPS Net Promoter Score. If you've ever browsed around the web and gotten a pop-up that says how much would you recommend this product to a friend or family on a scale of 0 to 10, that's the NPS. That's Net Promoter Score. It's very common. It kind of sucks, but people care about it in the company, and if you're in research, you have to know about it, right? Everyone in the research community thinks it's a waste of time, but if the company listens to you because you came to them with an NPS score, that's good for you because then you can get them to buy into real feedback from customers. Okay, so it's a double-edged sword. That said, this is the DoorDash NPS report from this past quarter. You can see, I can click around. This is a website. Oh, sorry, it's like making me dictate. This is a oh, stop it. That's Whisper. Do y'all use that? Yes. Yes. You don't want to type. You can say it out loud now. You don't have to type. Just brain dump. Okay. Sorry, I'll scooch this up. Okay, these are just slides from the NPS where you can see we're just trying to make points. We didn't write any of these slides. We gave Cursor examples of our old NPS reports, which I'll pull one up for you, though. They're all like right here. Here we go. Q1 NPS report. Right. So this is what I would have written historically. A slide. Here's like the chart of how the NPS has changed over time. And I would send this to everyone in the company, to all of the executive channels. Here's the exact same chart that Cursor built. Here is the summary that Cursor built. And these right here are things that you can click on to learn about the consumer point of view of the DoorDash experience, the Dasher point of view of the DoorDash experience, and the third side of the marketplace, the merchant point of view of the DoorDash experience. So this is how we have started to report our insights. It's no longer sitting on Google Slides and typing in things and pasting in PNGs from Google Images or whatever it is that you used to do. Honestly, you're dumping giant loads of data and you're brain dumping ideas either through Whisper, like I just showed you, with your words, into Cursor and saying like, this is the general structure I want for the deck. I want about 6 slides broken to 3 sections, consumer, Dasher, merchant. I want you to start with the overall summary, and then I want you to make sure you talk about the themes that go up and they go down and why they went up, blah, blah, blah. Hit enter, and then it will build the rough sketch for you. What you see when you deliver stuff like this is that it's a live experience. So recently, somebody came to me from the business development team, and this has happened many times at DoorDash. They said, hey, we want to acquire this company. And they said, is that a good idea or not? I don't know. Is it a different country? I said, I have no idea. We'll figure it out. So we did a bunch of research in this country, and we pulled all the insights, all the data from the survey and interviews with both merchants and consumers from that company into Cursor. And we had it create the analysis, which we went through and extensively edited. And then when we delivered that to them as a living dashboard, they could click through the things and change the views of the graphs they were shown. So they weren't then coming to us and saying, well, what about this market within the country? Or what about this age group or demographic? Is that a good idea or not? Instead of back and forth with 500 questions, they're clicking on the dashboard themselves and like changing the age range of the respondents or changing the location of the respondents so they can get the answers. And so they went off with this dashboard and decided, hey, we're not going to buy the company. And thanks to your insight, we were able to jump through all those dashboards and to figure things out on our own. So that's sort of the modern way of how things are moving. Of course, in 6 months from now, that might be completely inaccurate, but that's the way things are right now. So that's an actual version of what we're doing. Okay, so what did I do? I downloaded 2,000 real reviews from Starbucks from the Yelp database. Okay, so they're all real. And then I had Cursor build what's called a code book. Has anyone here ever done qualitative research before? Raise your hand. Okay, all right, a couple people. What is a code book? Does anybody know? Does anyone have a guess what it might be? It's very typical in research. Okay, yes, go ahead.
Themes you use to like code your data?
Correct. Themes. Okay, so what a code book is you're reading a ton of, this is old school, okay, before AI. You would sit there and you'd read a lot. And while reading, you're looking for themes, things that commonly recur. And they don't have to be concrete, they can be abstract themes as well. And as you go, you're writing these themes into a book. And you're saying, here's my first theme. I see it show up many times. Here's a couple example quotes from that theme, right? And then over time, you will then tag each of the comments with whether they demonstrate that theme or not. And why this is important is because you also have a rating associated with that comment, okay? So just like the NPS, you have a rating, oftentimes you have an open-ended comment. Just like a Yelp review, you have a star rating, and then you have an open-ended comment. So if you have a theme associated with an open-ended comment and you see that that increases or decreases their rating, then you can start to make conclusions about things that are driving satisfaction or driving the dissatisfaction within your company, okay? So codebook was created, but it's a starter codebook. It only includes 10 themes. What you're gonna do in one of your exercises is you're gonna add to that, okay? And then the last thing that you're gonna deliver is not a deck, but it's actually an interactive dashboard of the data that I've already given you from 2,000 reviews, and you're gonna build new themes, you're gonna build new executive questions, and you are going to essentially pretend like you're walking into an interview and to become a researcher at Starbucks Corporate. The reason we chose Starbucks is because there was a lot of data. You don't necessarily need to work at Starbucks Corporate. I'm just using it as a straw man here, okay? I'll give you an example from real life. I had someone come in and interview with me at DoorDash who was very passionate about learning about the gig economy side of the business. Three-sided marketplace, right? Consumers, dashers, merchants. And she wanted to do research with the folks that do the deliveries. She walked into the interview and said, I downloaded the Dasher app and I delivered 11 orders. And while I was delivering all of these orders, I learned about what worked and what didn't work on the process. And when someone walks into an interview and like has demonstrated that they've gone out of their way to really understand the kinds of things that they're passionate about working on, they're gonna get hired, okay? So if you wanna demonstrate, hey, I'm AI forward and fluent, B, I care about your company, I've done a lot of reading and background work on it, and I want to get hired here, and I have some ideas for how I can make it better, and you can do that in a way, this is the kind of thing that you're going to want to do to impress people in an interview. Okay, let's go. So here's the flow. We're going to start with a business question, work on the code book, and then we're going to work on the dashboard, and then finish with the insights. So I already told you about the reviews. Here's an example of one of the reviews. Okay, you can see. It's similar to what we talked about earlier. Although the drive-through line routinely spills into main thoroughfare during peak hours, going inside saved me tons of time. Took less than 5 minutes to order and receive my drink, fully staffed with friendly folks, very clean and cozy atmosphere inside. Okay, so you're gonna have 2,000 of these actual reviews. They're gonna be coded too, so you have some quantitative data, right? So it's obviously gonna be in a location, you're gonna have a star rating associated with it and a date. Okay, so when you do these things, you always need to start from the business question. I already gave you an example of the business question earlier, which was, hey, we're thinking about acquiring this company. Is that a good idea or not? Okay, that's the kind of question people would come to my team with, and we'd help to answer the question. There's another question, a question I got at Netflix, which you all benefited from. You just don't know it. Hey, we're thinking that we should allow people to watch Netflix from downloaded videos. Amazon does it. YouTube does it in India. Is this a good business decision for us to do, yes or no? I did that research. And I said, absolutely, it's a good idea. So that's why downloads exist, right? So there's a lot of things out there where people come to you with an executive question, and you have to do the research and you have to treat it like a hypothesis, and you have to do the research to determine whether that's a good business decision or not. It's always good to start from that. So these are examples of business questions that Cursor built from my dashboard on the Starbucks data. So is our mobile experience hurting in-store satisfaction or helping? I don't know. Where is the third place promise eroding? Does anyone know what the third place promise is? Apparently this is like a Starbucks thing. I had to look it up after the Cursor came up with this. Okay, the third, you do? Tell us. Yes.
That's been part of the thought process from the beginning.
Oh, I didn't know.
The CEO talked about it. Howard Schultz has talked about it all the time in interviews. Being a third place, home, office, and
nailed it. So I didn't know this, but Cursor knew, and I looked it up and I learned. So home, office, third place, and Starbucks wants to be the third place. So the question that you would actually get from a VP of store design, where is the third place promise eroding, and where is it still landing? And the last one, which channel, drive-through, in-store, mobile, has the worst service quality? I've answered that question at my actual job, previous job, for places like rallies. If you've ever gone to rallies, has anyone gone to rallies? Is that a thing in California? Okay, we got one. It has 2 drive-throughs. That's rallies, okay? It's like a burger place, all right? So the Dashers go through one side and the customers go through the other, and they wanted to know if Dashers would be mad if they had to go and get food out of the passenger side window when they did the drive-through on the left side. That's an actual research project I did. Okay, so these things are reality. Okay, next, code book, not vibes. Okay, so these are examples of code. We talked about this earlier, of the themes that came up when Cursor ran the analysis. So this is the kind of thing that you would use to tag your data with, right? But Cursor on purpose, as a part of this exercise, only did 10 themes. And they on purpose, didn't do all of the themes that could be possible in this data set. So one of the things that you're gonna do is read some reviews and come up with some more themes. Okay, here's an example coding. Okay, so you can see the drive-through theme was tagged because drive-through was mentioned. Speed or wait time took less than 5 minutes. Barista service, fully staffed with friendly folks, very clean, cozy atmosphere, whatever. Each of those themes on the left then gets coded into from a single review, whether that actual theme appeared or not. Okay, I'm gonna skip this. All right, the next thing that you need to make sure you do when you build these things out is that you have to make sure that they're not creating a mess. So you heard earlier in the demo that the reviews that were pulled in were actual reviews from Starbucks, and they said, I'll prove it to you, it's on my computer. That is true, but you have to build that into Cursor when you do it, and that's all built into some of the things that you have downloaded. Okay, so here's plausible nonsense. This is a fake review. Many customers said the mobile app was the worst part of their visit. Okay, that quote is not actually real. And you have to avoid that. In order to avoid that, you have to do stuff within Cursor to make sure that it doesn't pop up. Okay, and the best part about this, as I mentioned earlier, is that the dashboard becomes a question machine. So you'll see, I'm gonna pop out of this. You'll see, here's my example dashboard. You'll see that the dashboard will include quotes down here, and it will include graphs and your executive questions, but it's not entirely complete. So down here, recipe 4, the fourth thing we'll do is we'll add to your dashboards by starting to answer new questions and adding charts to what we've already built, okay? But can you see my full screen? Because that'd be great. Okay, I'm gonna go to Cursor. But what really works well is that you can still go to Cursor and you can ask any question that doesn't show up. So I can say, look at the reviews from Nashville, Tennessee, and tell me what the average star rating is. Is that higher or lower than my stores in Chattanooga, Tennessee? Okay, I'll let that run. And while it's running, I'm gonna pull this up really quick. Where's my thing? Okay, so querying the dashboard. You are then able to use Cursor to add to it or answer questions live when you're in your interview process, right? So towards the end of this exercise, I'll play an executive and I'll ask you questions and you're gonna answer them. And if I ask you a question that you don't have an answer to, like I just showed you an example for, you just go to Cursor and you type in the question and it will tell you. Okay, so Nashville has a 3.03 average star rating across 87 reviews in 21 stores. Oh, Chattanooga's not in the data set, but it says, but if you want a Tennessee comparison on the fly, here's a couple other ones, and you can see that it's higher than some and lower than the other. Thank you, Cursor, for like pulling me out because I didn't actually practice that beforehand. Okay, so there you go. That's the fourth thing we're gonna do. So here are the 4 recipes. I'm gonna ignore these timings over here, but I'm gonna display this. Hold on. Does everybody have a hands-on guide? If you don't, there's a pile of them up here. Piles of them up here. Okay, so we're gonna step through this one task at a time. Okay, so I'll make sure to give you an overview of the task. Then you can work. You can either work in groups or by yourself, doesn't matter. Just do whatever feels right for you. If you're feeling like less technical or you don't exactly know what's going on, find a partner and jump in with them. Okay, here we go. First thing we're gonna do is start with the executive question. So it'll show you how to do everything right here, but what you need to know is that the thing that you've downloaded will give you one generic executive question. It's not a great executive question, and it will give you 2 blanks that you need to fill in with new executive questions. So I've given you a couple examples of executive questions. Think about if you were in an interview and you were talking with Starbucks corporate, what is an interesting big question that you think you would be able to answer with only a set of 2,000 reviews across the entire United States, and come up with those 2 and get them into Cursor after you've downloaded all the stuff into your folder and started to work in that workspace, okay? And all the details are right here. So let's start with task 1, and let me know if you have any questions as you go.